It's time for the birth of the new golden era. Welcome to Shattering the Matrix. Your host, Ari Kopel, and co-host Serena bring you information that will shatter the matrix and shine light on the conditions and forces that are keeping the planet in third-dimensional density and inspire solutions and positive outcomes. Humanity needs to step up and desire to be freed from the darkness of this prison. No one, no thing outside of ourselves will do this for us. Ari Kopel helps us step into our power and authority that will shatter this prison. Now, be prepared to open up your consciousness, become aware, and emerge victorious by standing in our divine power and divine authority in unison, co-creating a new earth. Now, here's your host of Shattering the Matrix, Ari Kopel, and co-host Serena.
Hi, this is Ari Kopel and Serena with Shattering the Matrix. We have a wonderful 1 hour to maybe an hour and a half, depending on how we go, of information for you from the Matrix. Again, trying to shatter this illusion so that we can finally free humanity. Serena, are you with us today?
I am.
There you go. I was worried that you wouldn't be here with your Skype situation, but thank God that you finally got on. So today's little rant session, it's just a little one. It's just a little rant session. Begins with the fact that, we received an email. Well, it wasn't an email. It's what is it? It's a video that was posted on the 2012 emergence.com site in reference to a document that's it's supposedly from NASA, or at least wasn't the NASA website, but it's a NASA document written by one of the chief scientists by the name of Dennis Bushnell, or Bushnell, or however you pronounce it, that supposedly put in that document all kinds of things in reference to, what the Illuminati / Archons or whatever are planning for humanity. Stuff that, we already kind of know. But what's really shocking is the fact that it's all in one document, and it's coming from, an agency like NASA. And I saw it. I looked at it. I made my friend look at it as well. And I was in shock, to be honest with you. Not because of the information. It's because we hear little bits and pieces of information here, they're going to do this over there, the transhumanism over here, which I think is horrific just to begin with, just that whole concept. We're killing them with the food here. We know this, and we're getting it, a little bit here and a little bit there, but to have it all in one place in a document from an official agency like NASA really hit home for me, and it put me in a very, very bad place, to be honest with you. I was very angry, and I was really actually pissed off. Okay, I was really pissed off, and so I felt like I had to do my due diligence, and I went ahead like a good Samaritan, and being in service to others, went ahead and posted it on Facebook and everywhere that I could. And then all of a sudden, I got a very, very strange calm, which happens when I'm going to get a download. and it's almost like they sit me down. It's like, pay attention, pay attention. Here it comes. Here comes the download. And the information was, this stuff is not true. That this was disinformation again. And then I was, led to dissect it more. And the more I dissected it and looked at it from different perspectives and, just different angles and stuff, I was able to see right through it then. But what happens is that, Serena, and I'm sure you're going to, give your input in a second, is that when we're in the moment of shock, okay, we're vulnerable. Okay, we're vulnerable. It creates these openings, instantaneous openings, and that's how these little, what do you call them, muffers?
Meffers.
Meffers.
Meffers, yeah.
This is how they get in. Okay, so clouds our judgment. It doesn't allow us to be at our to use our discernment to the max. And we go into this state of fear. And that's how we, get compromised. What did you feel when because you had a very interesting, I think it was yesterday, was it not, when you had you were overwhelmed with so much negative information that's being disseminated out there, that you went into a really bad place as well, or didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I came across this, and then I came across other things. I was just clicking away on stuff that was coming in across my desk, and the collective of all of them, the effect of all of them together, got to me. And normally they don't get to me, but it was intense. But this was the beginning of it, was this particular thing. It was this YouTube video called Emergency, 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 spread viral. It's by Deborah Tavares, and I pulled up the page here of the first page that she's reading from, that she talks about in that 33-minute video. And she demonstrates how important it is to download this document and to read it to see what people are up against. And that it comes from NASA. And what it says is that it's a warfare strategy document. The future is now, which includes the U.S. Air Force, DARPA, CIA, FBI, Southern Command, Atlantic Command, Australian DOD, and more. Right? So in other words, all of these organizations have colluded to produce this document, and I'm just going to read from it, if I may.
Go ahead. Yeah.
This is what's going to show why people were so upset, and how it can affect you emotionally without even thinking. Right on the front page of this document, this supposedly NASA document, page 4, the presentation is based in all cases upon existing data, trends, analysis technologies, no pixie dust. Robots, cyborgs, and humans. Page 93. Exploit CNN syndrome. Sink carriers via swarm attacks. Capture, torture Americans in living color on prime time. Terror attacks within CONUS. Binary biocritical infrastructure takedown. IO/IW, EMPRF, against brain, etc. I don't know what those initials mean. Serious Psy-war, collateral damage, exploitation, etc. Page 9, humans have taken over, quote unquote, and vastly shortened evolution, directed evolution. Page 14, key future technologies, automatic, robotic, everything, genetic engineering before birth. Page 66, increasingly critical human limitations / downsides. Large, heavy, tender, slow, physically, mentally, require huge logistic training, i.e., humans have rapidly decreasing to negative value added. Okay, now this goes on to highlight other pages that are inside this document with all of this reference to the obvious pathetic state of humanity and the intended takedown and overtake of humanity by these organizations listed above, to make everyone into cyborgs and robots because humans have their limitations are too high. They're too large, too heavy, too tender, too slow, and all of this horrible stuff. So naturally, people read this and they see all of these organizations and they think, oh my God, we're screwed. We're totally screwed.
Yep.
Right? They're going to use, what kind of weapons? Microwave, RF, anti-functional and anti-personal weaponry, chemical anti-functional weaponry, chemical psychological effects, via sensory organs weaponry, chemical personnel incapacitation weaponry, non-warfare, hostage terrorism, cyber, acoustic weaponry, mechanical microdust. Okay. And no pixie dust, mind you, okay?
Oh, yeah, that's the most important part.
Yeah, we go, no fun, no pixie dust,
none.
damn it, but we're going to do microdust and kill you all. All right, kill us all. Well, people go into a panic, and when we're already, you see, humanity is already in a state of post-traumatic stress syndrome. Mm-hmm. Everybody on the planet is in a state of post-traumatic stress syndrome. Yeah. Why? Because we've been living lifetimes and generation after generation of being in a lockdown, both mentally, psychologically, and spiritually, in a violent society that is unnaturally at war every year of our lives without any breaks. And not to mention all of the mass, the threats that we have on a daily basis from psychological imbalanced, violence, mass murderers and drugs and warlords and all, and not to mention all of this that I just read. Okay, this is all psychopathic insanity that is descending upon humanity. So what is your reaction?
Yeah.
You freak out. You can't, because there's no argument against insanity, right? So this is one of those things I came across yesterday, and then I came across some other stuff that was absolutely off the charts because it involved the alien insanity. Right? This is human insanity, but then I came across the alien aspect of insanity, and it was too much. Well, I felt something get inside of my body, and I didn't like it. And I didn't realize until after having our conversation last night, early this morning, that something had gotten in. Yep. Something had gotten in. It was a bug, and that's exactly what this document is about. Yep. It is psychological warfare.
Yep.
Why? It is designed to take away your power as a human being and get you to resign to the fact that they want you to think that we're all screwed, which is a lie. Big lie. Huge, huge lie.
Yep.
Okay?
Exactly.
So that's what happened to me yesterday with this.
Yeah. And that place that you went to, I went to in my own place. Of course, I wasn't bombarded by all the other stuff that we talked about, information that you got about the aliens and all the other stuff. It just seems to me, and it's extremely suspicious, okay, that all this information just came out at one shot, and it's pretty, it's just, it's a type of thing that will put you out, it's so dire and it's so, horrific in scope that an individual will just resign. They will just say, I'm taking out my white flag now, and it's that fuck it factor that we always talk about. It's like when you reach that, and you told me that you had reached that yesterday.
I got there last night.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it looked like. We knew what yours looked like.
Yeah.
We were going to do a show about that, but I didn't know what my fuck it looked like when my hands would go up in the air and I'd say I am done with all of this. And I got there last night. Mm-hmm. I got there last night. Did I tell you what it was? Was it from this particular? Yeah. No, it was from another. No, it was from another comment.
Yeah.
It was from a comment about somebody who said that every single person on this planet is programmed. And so imagine that on top of everything else, right? Everything else that we had talked about that did not get aired, right?
Right.
And then I come across that. And so I got to my point where, like, that's it, I'm done. Hands up in the air. I crossed over in front of me. I'm finished. Done. Programmed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Your call was very early in the morning. What time was that? Like, I don't know, 2 in the morning? I don't know.
That was when we hung up.
Oh, that's when we hung up? Okay. Yeah, and so, I see that call and I go, uh-oh. What is going on here? And, so you had told me you had reached that wonderful point. And, and then so when we started sharing and comparing notes, we got to that empowerment point as well. And but it comes from and of course we're human beings. We do not want to see this planet turn into that darkness, because it was very, very grim what we were looking at yesterday. And you went into even a darker place when you got all the other information. But it was already grim enough. I was already grimmed out with that video. But because the reason is that we're beings of light. We want this planet to go back to the light. We realize that it's a force to be reckoned with. This one, this darkness. It's very, very.
Yes.
It's very.
Demands respect. Actually, it does.
Yeah.
However, time to say goodbye.
And it's time to say goodbye. It's time to pack up. There's suitcases, but it comes, with the realization that we do have to be able to recognize the symptoms, how they work. In other words, the tactics that they use to get us to that point of the resignation, to the point of surrender. And that
was the whole point.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
This document is about that exactly, to get people to just give in. Just give up.
Right.
Not gonna happen.
Right. But the realization after dissecting it is I started looking at it because it's a type of document that you said you even I think came up with. I don't know how you found out about it, but that it was in different layers, that you saw that it had been edited or something like that?
Yeah, somebody else came up with it on that site. I had posted it there. They looked at the properties of this, and they saw that it was originally created in 2000, but it was edited over a 24-hour period. I thought it was just 2 hours, but 14:59 minutes is 24 hours. And it took that amount of time for editing just the day before this video was made. Mm-hmm. So I have a feeling that whoever made the video had something to do with editing this document, however they were able to do it. And, granted, I mean, some of the information in here, is true. I mean, a lot of this is happening. But when you put it in a position like this, it puts it in such a condensed formation that you think, because we're so small in our consciousness, perception, we're only using 8% of the brain. We're only looking at 3% or 4% of reality anyway. And when we look at this, it seems like the whole world, but there really is a lot more taking place. So, but this becomes overwhelming to the consciousness that we're using.
Sure. And especially those that are reading it or viewing that video, it's mostly addressed to the people that are in the know. It's not that one is not addressed to the masses. I mean, the masses don't even know that that even a quarter of an eighth of it is even happening. They don't even want to know about it, or they're just not even looking there. But the ones that are in the know, that know about all these nanotechnologies, that know about the chemtrails and the GMOs and all that, those are the people that are in the know. Those are the ones that it's addressed to. So those are the ones that are going to go into that shock mode, because it's too much information. It's information overload, all in one spot, coming from an agency that supposedly it was the one that was the pioneer of our space travel and all, and now it's being put in the same ranks as Homeland Security and CIA and all those dark
and transhumanism
and all that. So but as I mentioned to you yesterday, Serena, is that first of all, the language used was suspicious to me. Okay, the way that it was put in, written, in a way that would not be the way that a scientist of the caliber of this gentleman, Dennis Bushnell, or however you pronounce his name, Bushnell or whatever, it doesn't seem right. It seems contrived. It seems that it was put in. They're using his name. They're using the agency's name to create a credibility. And but it's all staged. Again, here comes the word staging again. And whoever did this, I don't know if they work for the cabal or if they work for the whomever. They're part of the whole thing, even if they're just using it as a joke. If they're doing that and toying with people's emotions and with creating a fear amongst the population, then they're working for the dark side. I don't care who the heck they are. That is not of the light. That is not in the best interest of humanity when you get people in fear mode. But the truth of the matter is that a scientist of that caliber would not, if they're into, let's say, I don't know what he specializes in, but let's say he's into creating space shuttles. Okay, just to say that he's into sending missions to space. Why would he even be putting stuff that talks about specifically putting his name out there, okay, discrediting himself, putting it in a place supposedly where it's available to be found, and talking about the eradication and genocide of humanity? It makes absolutely no sense. And I'm talking to you about firsthand experience. I used to work for NASA, and many years ago when I was in college, I was the assistant to the chairman of the board for the Goddard Institute of Space Studies. And this particular gentleman was, he was an eminent, he was a brain in reference to what had to do with climatology and that type of thing. But I want to tell you that, this man, Dr. Robert Jastrow, which was, I'm hoping he's still alive, I'm not really sure. It's just like saying this man would have written a document that would be written in that format using the words that were used. It's just totally unheard of. It's just, and expressing what they're expressing, which is, basically the downfall of humanity. It just doesn't jive. It just doesn't jive. It would mean that somebody actually, used Photoshop or copied and pasted, took that document and doctored it to create an illusion that this thing is for real.
Right.
And then it's so grave and it's so horrific that oh my God, we've got to share this with everybody. So the whole title of the thing is critical emergency, and then everybody everywhere that I actually Googled this thing. I don't know how many websites had this thing already posted in their websites and in Facebook. It became viral. So when it becomes viral, now you have all these other people that are already in the know about all these technologies and about all these things and weaponry that are opening this thing up and going into that shock mode because it's like, oh my God, it's all true. It's all true. Oh my God. It's no longer a theory or a conspiracy theory. This is for real now, and it's in an official document by NASA, by one of the chief scientists. This is for real. So what happens is you go into that fear mode, and then that opens up what? The pockets. It opens up holes so that they come in. And so you felt that something was in you, something that was not you, which was creating some kind of, what I got? I got the feeling of dread.
Yeah, it was a feeling, first of all, a feeling of something foreign being in my body. Mm-hmm. I don't feel these things. I knew there was something I was not supposed to be feeling. I'm supposed to keep what I'm reading outside of me and not inside. So when it goes inside, it's a bug, right? And it's a parasite. Whether it's a psychological parasite or not, it's a parasite or an implant. And I got implanted because I was bombarded by all of this other stuff as well. So I had a weakness, and fear is an opening itself. Fear, along with shock and trauma, which is what they use, which is why the entirety of human population is in a form of post-traumatic stress syndrome, because they're still in shock. Everybody's still in shock in some form or another, whether they realize it or not. And you have these holes in your aura, right, that let these things in. So when I was assaulted yesterday in the afternoon by so much stuff that that it got through. No matter what my protections are or my strength is, it got through. But I got smart because, we took this apart.
Yep.
We took this apart and we applied logic and we applied spiritual strength and maturity to looking at this and seeing how fearful that it was really intended to be, because NASA is not going to produce a document like this. I mean, they already produced Agenda 21 is written, and the Protocols of Zion, which were not supposed to have been published and put all over the place, were published and put all over the place about the plans that these psychopathic patriarchs have against humanity, right? And so that these documents are out there and people know that these things are happening on one level or another, but when they're put into a document like this and it's told to go viral, well, look at the word viral is a virus, right? They want you to make it virus, so we become the ones who infect as well by spreading this stuff, right? Because it's the ones who, as you say, are in the know, who are going to spread this information. So we become carriers of the virus as well. Unfortunately, but we corrected ourselves last night and we got smart and we had to retract some of that. Now look at this, page 35. This is not NASA integrity. Okay, this is not NASA credibility. Okay, it says page 35, examples. Brain of a sea lamprey inserted / connected to body of a robotic fish, parenthesis, an initial cyborg, quote unquote choo-choo, a flesh plant-eating robot that hunts, biodigests natural foods to live off the land, parenthesis, choo-choo robot inventor Stuart Wilkinson expresses concern about the dangers of the robots eating humans.
It sounds so sci-fi, right? That and it's almost fabricated from a mind of a psychopath.
This is psychopathic stuff, and this is furthermore. I got into it even further with that other alien psychopathy. You think this is psychopathic? My God, that other stuff was even a little bit more off the charts, shall we say? But yes, this is enough to put the average person into a panic. And we're trying to stop that, because you give your power away. And that's all they want. I mean, they've got everybody in an already weakened state psychologically, right? Everybody's waiting for FEMA camps to open up, and a lot of people who are in the know are waiting for these things to just come any moment now around the corner, right? But this is the thing, when we give in to this with fear and expectation, well, it's an invitation. It's an invitation basically for these guys to come in and do it, because now you're already psychologically weakened. You don't have any strength. You don't have any desire to fight, and you're just going to give up. And what are they going to do? They're going to take it.
They don't have to fire a bullet. They don't have to do any EMPs. They don't have to do anything. It's a very easy takeover.
And that was the whole intention of this, is to weaken people psychologically, because I think that they see that a lot of people are starting to stand up, because at this moment in time there are histories and protests and revolts happening all over the world right now. And I mean, I didn't know that, but I looked into this and I saw that there were a lot of revolts happening all over the place, except here in the United States for some odd reason.
Well, because of everything that we know, the fluoride in the food and the chemtrails and everything else. And CNN.
And so they're seeing that people are revolting. So what are they going to try and do? They're going to try and weaken you psychologically. That's what they're going to try and do. Naturally, right? Anyway, that's what this document is. To me, I mean, we got smart, and I think it's a distraction. And I think it's a diabolical one. I think it's just further, proof of the psychopathic nature of all of these people who have access to anything, any document, and they can do anything that they want and put it out into the public, and the public just eats it up. It's
pure psychological warfare on the ones that that mean well, of course, because obviously we all mean well, and when we see something like that, obviously we want to let everybody, alert everyone, so that everyone is, at the top of their game, shall we say, and that we know what's coming down the pike. But in reality, all this stuff is just a setup. It's a setup to create that fear mode, so that the fear mode opens up the pockets, so that when the pockets are open, they come in and do what? They feed.
Yeah. Okay. So there's actually a twofold tactic here taking place right now. Okay, one, psychologically they instill fear in people, fear and panic and all of those negative emotions that keep you weakened, and you're not strong, and you're not rebellious, and you're not strong enough to say no, to stand into your own dignity and integrity and say no to all of this, right? Mm-hmm. And the other thing, and that's the psychological one, and the spiritual one is that it creates those holes in your energy field that allows these etheric implants into your body to create a fear that keeps feeding on you and giving you that energy. And that's what I felt. That's what I felt something like that, something toxic and poisonous like that, until we set ourselves straight last night.
Yeah,
it got clear.
Yeah.
But this is the effect that it has on people. So it's psychological and spiritual in one shot.
Yeah, and it got you. Again, it got you to that point where you said "fuck it," right? That "fuck it" mode.
Yeah, I did.
And that's your surrender. That's the point that you get to.
Remember, I had this, and I had like 5 other things.
Oh, I know. No, you were totally.
Yeah,
you were totally compromised yesterday. You were totally bombarded, but it pushed you to that point. And my whole the purpose of why I'm trying to state this is that imagine if everybody gets to that point. We're not going to fight we're not going to fight for the planet. We're not going to try to hold the light any further. We're basically surrender, allowing, it's an allowance of okay, well, whatever, que sera, sera type of thing, and and remember what we're doing right now, you and I specifically here, we're out of our comfort zone, getting in front of people via radio, bringing in information about these stupid freaking entities and forces that are keeping the planet the way it is. The last thing they want is for people like us or others like us to do that. And of course that, if they're going to get that information in front of us, we're going to eventually get to it. If it's not a website, an email, anything like that, we're going to eventually come across the information. And lo and behold, you did, and so did I, and put me in a very bad place, put you in a worse place, and you got to that point of, oh, that's it. What else is there? Let's just throw the flag down. We can't get compromised like that. So we have to be really, really discerning. We have to look at how they operate, all the tactics that they use, because they are very predictable. When you really look at the way they operate, their signature is everywhere. They use the same building blocks. They use the same ingredients. It's as almost as if they were chefs in a kitchen creating this dish. They use the same ingredients. Because if it gives you the same outcome all the time and people go into a panic and they're feeding off that wonderful dish, it's like, oh, gourmet, it's great. Well, let's create the dish again. It worked, that first time. Oh, what ingredients did you use? Oh, I used this, a little fear of this, a little bit of panic over here, a little concerned over there, and we put it together, and the next thing you know, all these people are going into a panic. Oh, delicious meal.
Yeah, and mind you, compiled no less by all the supposedly most respected and fearsome agencies in the world. U.S. Air Force, DARPA, CIA, FBI, classic psychopathic guys. I mean, the epitome of psychopathy. Australian Department of Defense, and more.
Yeah, and more. But
as if we need more.
No,
right?
but you know what?
It's all of them together in collusion against humanity.
I think, in my opinion, it would have been more credible. And I probably wouldn't have stopped at some point and said, wait a minute. That wait a minute point, when I go, wait a minute, this doesn't jive. I wouldn't have gotten there if they would have used maybe a different agency. But when the fact that they use NASA, to me, that is just like, wait a minute, that really does not jive. because I used to work for them.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're, that they're not without sin.
Right.
Because,
yeah, we know that.
believe me, I know. But it's not, that's not the way, that's not what they're there for. If they would have said Homeland Security, if they would have said CIA or something like that, I would have probably not even questioned it. I would have been, today we wouldn't have been talking about this. Because I would have probably, go, oh my God, this is really bad. I mean, this is like bad. But the fact that they use NASA, some definitely, that was my first sign right there. There's something wrong. And then I kept looking into it. I even Googled the guy. I Googled the information, the actual document and everything. And it doesn't really appear anywhere else. I don't know. It appears that it comes just in one particular website that it was created. And then I read what you posted from those other people about the gardening.
Yeah.
They concurred with the same thing that the conclusions that we came up with.
Yeah, they're very familiar, those people, with the signature of these archontic forces and the false authorities all over the planet, and they're fighting them outright. That's their whole stance in life, is to become sovereign human beings. So they know the smell of shit when they see it, because they're fighting it all the time. So I looked further into this document because, I wasn't going to go look for it in NASA. I would have a feeling that it wasn't there. But I wanted to see what else I could come up with, and I saw this. And when I saw the properties of it, and I saw that in the video itself, the document that she holds up, it doesn't have her website on it, stopthecrime.net. But on this picture, on this copy, it has her website on the cover of this copy. But the fact that all of these things are written on the front page, they don't need to do this. If this is a document that is within these organizations, they don't need to put these highlights of what's on the page, like as if for children, like this. What is this, an index or bullet points?
Right.
On the outside of the page, they would be on the inside of the page.
Exactly.
On the inside of the booklet.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're talking about, Choo-Choo, the robot, and the dangers of this robot eating humans and all of this is obviously scare tactic. This is like Stanley Kubrick.
Well,
crap,
to me, it's almost mockery. It's a mockery.
Yeah. It's a mockery against the intelligence and the ability to discern, and it's taking advantage of the, post-traumatic stress syndrome population. Yeah. Because they are going to respond to this. Yeah. Because you see, because anybody that has, their groundedness and their centeredness, about them and their wits about them are going to look at this and see the ridiculousness of it. But humanity are so used to having this psychopathy in their midst, through mass murderers and serial killers every single day of our lives, without fail, there's one of these things happening, that we are living in a post-traumatic stress syndrome state. And so hearing this stuff, you're not even going to question it. You're just going to freak out, especially when it's coming from this stuff. And after hearing all of this stuff exposed about TSA agents at the airport that are doing all of these disgusting things with people and children. Sure. Give me a break. Of course people are going to look at this and freak out, and that was the whole point.
Yeah, because we're jumpy already. We're already jumpy.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So it doesn't take much to get us to, another piece of information. Oh my God. Oh, here's another one. But at least it gives us, when we acquire new information that is bad, at least it gives us time to digest it, and we deal with it little by little. But when it's all given in one shot, and even when they put a stupid thing like Choo-Choo give me a break. We totally miss that, don't we? Because it's all part of the package.
Yeah, because we're so used to being exposed to fucking insanity that when we read this, it's just part of the everyday norm. Yeah. Because this is the crap that is basically happening to people on a regular basis. We see it all the time, right? So, but when you see these agencies, put all together, and their strategies, warfare, are against humanity and not the enemy, and you realize, oh my God, I'm the enemy, this is what they're using against me, you're going to go into panic.
Exactly.
Because we are already stressed. Look at this one, page 43. Micro dust weaponry, a mechanical analog to micron-sized mechanized dust, which is distributed as an aerosol and inhaled into the lungs. Dust mechanically bores into lung tissue and executes various quote-unquote pathological missions. A wholly new class of weaponry, which is legal.
Right.
How does that sound? I mean, this is pathological. Talk about.
But wait a minute.
This is psychopathic stuff.
Yeah, but even the way that it was phrased, okay, does not jive with the way a NASA document would read in reality.
Well, yes, it's not
just
scientific.
wouldn't.
This is
exactly.
Science fiction horror.
It's some person.
Science fiction horror. This is totally geared to getting a visceral, fearful, emotional reaction out of you. That's how this is phrased. There's no scientific logic written in here at all.
It looks almost like a troll wrote that thing.
Yes, whatever. A psychopath.
A psychopath. One of those internet trolls. That's what it sounds like. It doesn't sound scientific. It doesn't sound like someone, I'm assuming that even a Hitler, with writing something like that, instructions, would have been a little bit more scientific, more professionally written. I mean, it to me, it sounds just totally, what do you call that? Amateurish. If I can only say it right, like an amateur writing that just to create a certain or elicit a certain response from people.
A completely fearful, panic, visceral, emotional, fearful reaction from the lowest regions of your bowels, really.
Exactly.
That's what this is written for.
And then, of course, more than likely, they're working with those forces that would use that as an opportunity to feed off. And, of course, they're having their feeding frenzy. So, I want to get into the topic now of how do we stop that, because you actually asked me yesterday, I think, I don't remember how you used it or phrased it, but it was like, okay, so how do we stop this? Did you not?
Stop what?
Stop the feeding.
Yeah.
Stop the feeding of these archonic forces, the demonic forces, all the forces.
Right.
Yeah.
Stop the negative emotional response to material that is deliberately trying to elicit fear from you. As soon as you read that it's trying to get an emotional response out of you, deliberately like this, to something, as horrific as robots who are eating humans and pathological missions from something that's inhaled in your lungs, which means you become that psychopath yourself, things like this. This is extreme, so it's kind of obvious, right? Even though people will look at last year's infection of, zombies that have been released into the air, into the society, and everybody's now suspecting, everybody else could be a zombie. You never know when it's gonna strike, right? And so they have that paranoia already set up. But when something is written so that it's trying to deliberately elicit this response, you just immediately shut down. Right. You shut it down.
Right.
You shut down your emotional center that can respond to this. You can read it if you think you can be detached enough to read it intellectually, and without having an emotional response that's going to inhibit your judgment. So you just shut down. You just don't. This is because that emotion is, like you said, giving them food. It's just food for those archons, and then these parasites and implants come in and they start infecting you from the inside, so that you're always fearful with everything that you read, and it's difficult to shake that fear because now you have an implant in you.
Sure.
So you have to literally reject it, and that's what we did. Like you and I both spiritually, we rejected it spiritually. We stood in our integrity, and we stood and said, no, we are not going to give them this food. Right. And that's when it happened for both of us. Am I right?
It did. Yeah, okay. It did.
It happened for both of us at the same time, more or less, where we both realized that this was completely created and designed to elicit a response that was going to both infect us and weaken us to any crap that they would decide to give us. And we both decided to say, no, we're not going to give them that food. It's not going to happen.
Exactly. And then I took it a bit further in our conversation where, we were discussing, well, these things obviously are on our, in the planet right now. They're feeding off not only, people like us that we kind of know, but imagine other people that are not maybe spiritually strong, and maybe not aware of this. But what is it gonna take to get to basically get rid of these things, because, you and I have discussed before, okay, so what if everyone decides to awaken at the same time, or get it, or get to that understanding where they know that these forces are in place? Everybody gets it, all right? So now what? What does it look like? How do we get rid of these things? And the conclusion that I came up with was that we need to stop feeding them. We need to stop feeding these things. If we stop feeding them, they can no longer survive, they can no longer reproduce or multiply, and that eventually either have to leave the planet or they basically self-disintegrate, they self-destruct.
Right.
So what does that look like, to stop feeding them? That, if they're feeding off our energy and our emotions, then we need to step up our game. In other words, we need to be that Christ consciousness where we are, all the opposite, the opposite in a positive way of all the things that we have not been doing up to that point. And that means that we are, beings of compassion. We're we're in equanimity in terms of, in terms of our emotions. It doesn't mean that we're emotionless. It means that we're using the right emotions, the emotions of joy, the emotions of forgiveness, the emotions of compassion, those emotions. Being grateful.
Gratitude is big, huge, yes.
Being humble, all those things, the in direct opposition of everything that has not been working, that's what they're feeding on, and those are the qualities that comes with Christ consciousness. And imagine if, I'm pretty sure maybe not all of us will achieve that, but at least the ones that are in the know, the ones that are spiritually connected, that have been practicing their spirituality for a while, you know what? It's time to put the books down and let go of the gurus and the teachers and actually walk the walk. Because that is what it's going to take. It's not going to be, there's no more to learn. What else is there to learn? It's time to step into those shoes and stop feeding this, because this is what it is, exactly what it is, and feeding into that panic that just happened as an example, because a lot of us obviously did post it and repost it, and it was based on good intentions, because obviously we want to warn everybody, but it was definitely a fear that generated our response, and that action of spreading it, which of course the virus was already in there, plus we're being the carriers, we're also spreading it, so it's going to take us to want to go to that next level, to realize that it's time, because again, a lot of us are waiting for the magic Gandalf to come in, or the spaceships to come in, and at the right timing. But it really it also is dependent upon this planet. The shift of consciousness, the shift of taking these dark forces away, is really depending on us as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why the heck are we here?
Yeah, we have to stop giving them. I want, you see that there are two things that are crossing my mind right now. One is that there are people who say, yeah, don't look at this stuff, don't, just look at all the positives, stay in happiness. That's not what we're really saying. We're saying, look at this stuff, inform your stuff, but do not feed them that fearful energy, but you must know the forces that are working against you and what they're doing. This will keep you on your toes. It will keep you strong. It will keep you knowledgeable. You will know where you have to gain your strength and where you have to, back off a little bit. But we're not just saying just to look at, pretty stuff and just be, happy and joyful all the time, even though that sounds nice, it's wonderful. But we do need to know that there are things that are working against us, and they are trying to feed off of negative emotions. So even if it's not these psychopathic men who are putting all this stuff together, then there are these etheric energies that are feeding off of negative emotions that we have to constantly be vigilant about, and watching for them and making sure that we don't give them an opening for them to come in and to make situations worse, because they will park inside our bodies and our minds and stay and park and cause misery like endlessly.
Yeah.
So we're not saying to just be, on one extreme, just looking at happy stuff. You have to be informed as to what these people are doing so that you can stand in your strength and in your integrity, because there is an opposing force against you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then the other thing that I wanted to say was, well, I'm going to pass on that. I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah, I totally in agreement. I know, and I'm hoping that the people, of course, we might have some new listeners that may not know what our posture is on this, but our posture is that we need to look at everything, okay? And because in reality, by looking away, not wanting to see what's really happening with the planet, we're kind of like giving permission for these things to happen. And it's just it's very simple. If you do like a quick scan, you're honest with yourself. You take a look at just the headlines, take a look at what's happening behind the scenes in the world, take a look at what's happening in your state, in your city, in your neighborhood. It's not in divine order. Okay, it is not based on the divine blueprint of Prime Creator, because that is not the way that looks like. Okay, so when you realize that this is not functioning from the highest truth and light of that Prime Creator, then that means that something else is working against it. And so these are the things that we need to be mindful of, because the only way that we're going to free this planet and all life on it is by being engaged, okay, in it and into the solutions of it. So we've got to be participants in this process. We cannot be spectators in the process. We have to be wanting to to see what's going on so that we can formulate the solutions, because they do not happen on their own. And if we do not show a desire to be part of the remedy of the solution of this whole thing, that we're certainly not going to get any assistance from anywhere.
Right. So one thing that I want to say, if I may.
Yeah.
Is that what most light workers and light beings don't understand is the twisted and manipulative and deeply convoluted labyrinth mind of the psychopath that is working against them. Light workers think that they're playing a fair game. They're not playing a fair game. They don't understand how the psychopathic mind works against them. So
right.
when light workers or average people or whoever, the good people don't look at this stuff and don't do anything about it, what the psychopath does is takes that as consent to do these things to them. They take it as consent. They say, okay, they're not fighting back, so we have a green light. They have given us consent to do what we're doing because there is no opposition. This is how they think. And light workers don't understand that by looking the other way and not looking at this stuff at all, that they are giving unconscious consent to these beings. And that's why these beings have full range, because that is their thinking. When they have no opposing force, then that means you are saying yes, green light. That's how they think. And people need to understand that that's how they think. That's why you have to look at this stuff and you have to say no. Because now you're saying no to what they're doing.
Yeah, and you say no with your full authority and your full power.
Absolutely.
It's not a little wimpy no. It's not, oh no, please leave. Oh no, I mean, it would be wonderful. I'm sending you love and light. I'm praying over you. You know, I send you unconditional love. You know, because you're, you know, no. It's a very powerful no. And I'm going to tell you that I have my own situations. Okay, that and you and I have talked about this, but that I know that certain people that I'm surrounded with, you know, have been compromised in a way that I know that these forces are working through them to get to me, obviously, because I'm trying to do the work and trying to shed light into this situation on the planet, and you know, pointing out these forces. They don't want that, of course, so they're going to try to get to me whichever way they want to, or whichever way they can. So, but I recognize the signature, like we've discussed. You know, there's different patterns and repetitive patterns that, if they're effective, they will try it again and again and again. And when that doesn't work, they'll try something else. And so I had to get really strong and address that particular entity / dark force or whatever that was, and I called it out. I'm going to tell you, Serena, I use a very forceful voice.
I'm sure you did.
Okay, and I used sometimes, you know, language that would be, you know, it was colorful, if you can imagine, but I did it in a way. Yes. I did it in a way that was it was in my full authority, my full power, and I basically used the Trojan horse, which was I'm using the frequency and technology or technology of words, because remember, words have frequency that they understand. Okay, because they don't understand the fluff. They don't understand that lovey-dovey stuff. They don't. Okay, they understand the language used, that the same stuff that they used, that's what I used right back. And the release that I felt was epic. It was epic. It was like such a weight. It was like, oh my God. It was like, you know, I'm in darkness and all of a sudden the light went on. And it was day and night. It was really that amazing, because it was a release. It was a catharsis. I knew that this thing was like, it had no more power. And it was that instantaneous. But it took that power within me and my authority and all, you know, of who I am, because we all have that. It's not just who I am, it's who you are as well. And recognizing that and stepping into that power and taking it down, period. So when you're looking at this information, whether it's that video that we've been addressing all along, or information like that is it's just horrible. I mean, it's just grim and horrible, and you know, you've got to look at it from an objective perspective. You've got to look at it objectively. Don't let it compromise you. You've got to be in your heart. You've got to be centered, and don't let it go any further than that. Okay, don't let it become an emotion for you, especially not fear. Right. Especially not fear, because that is it. That's all they're looking to do. Create the fear, to create the opening so that they can start feeding. And once they start feeding, you're compromised. You're infected. Then you go out, and with that same fearful mode, you're going out and preaching to others with that fear. Guess what? That other person gets infected. They open up, they get the fear, and then it goes with the next one and the next one. It's an epidemic. It's an infestation. So with that in mind, did you have any other comments that you wanted to make?
No, just one last thing. I feel that humanity is still in the learning process of learning what the dark forces are truly like. Humanity was not prepared for this, and we're still learning. And this is part of the learning process, and we have to look at everything that they are capable of so that we know how to stand in our power against it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just remember that we are divine beings. We do have the power to overcome this. And it's just a matter of remembering who we are and just stepping into our Christ consciousness and just think about what that looks like. What is Christ consciousness? And, everything that we're doing now that may not be working, obviously it would be all those lower vibrational emotions. Let's stop doing that and let's start using the ones that are, those that elicit joy, the ones that elicit, empowerment, compassion, all those things that we know. Let's do that from now on. Let's walk the walk from now on, and stop feeding them. Once we stop feeding them, they have no choice but to withdraw. They have to leave. They will leave.
They will have no food, right?
No more food. No more food. And that's the campaign. No more food. Let's boycott them for let's give them a little boycott.
No more food. Exactly. That sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've come to the end of our program. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm hoping that this particular episode has given you a little bit more clarity, and that it's giving you at least some tools of empowerment and a direction as to what we need to do in order to overcome the situation that we're facing on this planet. With that in mind, thank you again, Serena, for being on the show, and we'll I guess all see each other again next Thursday at the same time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, blogtalkradio.com/Shattering the Matrix. It's always wonderful to be with you all. Thank you very much and good night.
Stay calm.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Shattering the Matrix with your host, Ari Kopel and Serena. Please visit our website, 2012emergence.com. That's 2012emergence.com. Find us on Twitter at Matrix Shattered, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Shattering the Matrix. Listen to archived shows at blogtalkradio.com/Shattering the Matrix. And join us next time for the birth of the new golden era on Shattering the Matrix.